Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we really get into it. We take your sources, articles, books, research, you name it, and we pull out the absolute core insights, the real nuggets, specifically for you, our listener.
And today, we're diving into something, well, pretty transformative, I think. It's from someone who really knows about turning, let's just say, chaos into an empire.
Yeah, and the backstory here is not what you typically expect. It's wild.
It really is. We're talking about Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, Get Unstuck, Reclaim Your Freedom, and Build Your Empire. And when we say unlikely beginning, I mean, this isn't just a rough start. We're talking shoplifting way back in grade school.
Wow.
Yeah, multiple stays in group homes in middle school, and eventually, as he puts it, getting booted from high school. So, yeah, not just rocky, more like a whirlwind of trouble.
Right. And the real turning point, the catalyst, it came after his mom found, well, drugs, money, stolen guns.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah, she called the police. Dan went on the run, hiding out, trying to dodge the inevitable. But then, arrest. 6 months in adult jail. And then comes the moment. After a fight, he's in solitary, and this guard, Brian, comes in.
And Brian doesn't lecture him about the fight or the stolen car or anything like that?
No. He just looks at Dan and asks, really simply, Dan, why are you here? Not why are you in solitary, but fundamentally, why are you here in jail living this life?
Wow. That's a heavy question.
Huge. And apparently it cracked something open for Dan. Started this long, hard shift in how he saw himself.
Yeah, that question, asked without judgment, it seems, really set him on a different path. After jail, he ends up at Portage, which is like a therapeutic place for troubled teens, focused on rehab, self-discovery.
Okay.
And it's there, totally unexpectedly, he's helping clean out an old cabin, and he finds a book on Java programming.
Random.
Totally random. He'd always thought programming was, like hieroglyphics, super complex math, just not for him. But this book, he said it read like plain English. It just clicked. It was logical, accessible, and that little discovery, that sparked the passion that basically changed everything for him.
And what a change. I mean, from that moment, he dives headfirst into entrepreneurship, found Spheric, then Flowtown that got acquired in 2012.
Right.
Then Clarity, which was this really cool marketplace connecting founders with experts.
Yeah.
That got acquired too in 2014.
So clearly finding success, building things.
Yeah, but here's the twist. Even with all that business success, Martell is really open about struggling personally. He talks about this GSD, get shit done mentality, just constant grinding urgency.
The hustle culture trap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it led to serious burnout, even personal loss, while the businesses were, on paper, thriving. He was winning the game, but losing himself.
And that realization, that friction, seems to be the absolute core of his whole philosophy now. He figured out that a happier, more balanced Dan wasn't just like a nice side effect. He was actually a better entrepreneur.
A better father, a better husband, too, he says.
Right. His well-being was directly tied to his success in relationships. And that understanding drove him to help other founders, other leaders, figure out how to, buy back their time.
It's such a great phrase.
It is. It's about strategically putting your most valuable resource, your time, your energy, where it really counts. Building a life you don't constantly need a vacation from.
Which is exactly what we're going to unpack in this deep dive. We're getting into Martell's approach. It's pretty counterintuitive, honestly, but seems really effective for time management, business growth, how you can change your relationship with time, energy, work.
Yeah, the goal is to pull out the core ideas, the practical strategies, so you can build not just a successful business, but one you actually love and a life you don't feel like escaping.
Okay, let's do it. It starts, as you said, by kind of redefining productivity and value itself, not just doing more stuff.
Exactly, doing what matters. Which brings us right into Chapter 1, the buyback principle beyond just getting things done.
And he kicks it off with this really key distinction, what I think a lot of us mix up. Goals versus systems.
Oh, absolutely. Big one.
He puts it super clearly. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results.
That's foundational because it shifts your focus immediately. It's not about being busy. It's about being strategic, building the machine that gets the results.
Right. We're often great at setting big goals, but maybe not so good at designing the repeatable systems to actually hit them.
Yeah, exactly. And that leads straight into the core buyback principle itself, which is honestly pretty radical. The idea is you should only aim to be truly excellent at a few key things.
Just a few.
Just a few high-impact tasks. And for everything else, Be okay with being mediocre, or even better, outsourcing it. The focus is choosing where your energy goes, the highest value stuff.
Intentional mediocrity in some areas to achieve excellence in others. That's counterintuitive.
It really is. And he uses this story about an entrepreneur named Stuart to illustrate it. Stuart was that classic founder, built it from scratch, wore all the hats.
A grinder.
Totally. But at 34, he hits what Martell calls the pain line. Literally bedridden from stress, couldn't breathe properly, let alone run the company.
Wow. The success was crushing him.
Exactly. His company's future was suddenly on the line because the founder was just breaking down. That's when Stuart found Martell's stuff, binged it for 2 weeks. It was his wake-up call to focus on what really mattered and what was draining him.
So what is this pain line exactly? Is it just burnout?
It's related, but Martell describes it as this point where entrepreneurs subconsciously start to self-sabotage. They hit this internal wall of overwhelm, but instead of dealing with that, they make these unnecessarily dramatic decisions, like suddenly deciding we need a whole new website, or let's pivot, change our entire market. Stuff that looks like action, but it's really a reaction to the internal pain, creating external chaos to avoid the internal stuff.
Okay, so it keeps them stuck because they're avoiding the real issue, their own capacity limit.
Precisely. They're afraid of more pain, so they create drama instead of growing through the discomfort.
So how do you break through that pain line if you recognize you're there or heading there?
He offers this system, the buyback loop. It's a continuous cycle. Audit, transfer, fill. Simple but powerful.
Okay, audit, transfer, fill. Let's break that down. Audit first.
Audit first, and it requires brutal honesty. You have to meticulously identify every single low-value task that drains your energy, your time, your focus, the stuff you hate doing or just tolerate.
Not just time, but energy. That's key.
Huge. So you make this list. Then step 2 is transfer. You deliberately offload those tasks. And not just to anyone. Ideally, find someone who's actually better at it than you, and this is critical, someone who genuinely enjoys it more.
Right. Your drudgery might be someone else's passion project.
Exactly. And then comes the best part, fill. This is where you strategically reinvest that reclaimed time. You fill it with higher value activities, things that light you up, leverage your genius, and yes, generate more income.
So it's a cycle. Delegate invoicing, maybe focus on marketing, then delegate marketing, focus on strategy.
Right. It's a continuous upgrading of your time, moving from, say, 10-hour tasks to 100-hour tasks, then 1,000-hour tasks. It makes the business feel less like a grind and more effortless, even exhilarating over time.
Okay, I get the concept, but how do you make time bought back feel real, tangible, not just abstract?
Good question. He includes this vision exercise. He asks you to really consider, what would I fill my time with if I wasn't spending all of it at work? And not just think about it, write it down, get specific, or make a vision board. Like actually picture playing catch with your kids or finally taking that yoga class or, jet skiing. Make it vivid.
So you have a clear picture of what you're buying the time for.
Exactly. It gives you that emotional pull, that why.
That's a big shift. Designing your life, not just reacting to work, which sets up chapter 2 perfectly. The DRP matrix. This sounds like the tool to actually do that design work.
It absolutely is. It's Martell's framework for systematically categorizing your time and energy, figuring out where it's all going. And he starts with an amazing case study, Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah. Okay, how does she fit in?
Well, her journey is incredible. Tough childhood, bouncing around, lands a news anchor job, but struggles. They said she was too emotional, even the wrong color. Can you imagine?
Wow, that's rough.
So they demote her, stick her on this local talk show, basically to get her out of the way. But that demotion, that was the turning point.
How so?
Her first interview wasn't some huge celebrity. It was like a local ice cream guy and a soap opera actor.
Glamorous.
Right. But after that show, Oprah had this huge realization, this is what I'm supposed to do. Reporting news felt exploitative to her, but connecting with people on a talk show, that felt authentic. That was her calling.
Oh, finding her genius zone.
Exactly. And this led to this really strategic way she used her time. Martell points out, even when her empire was massive, Oprah apparently only spent about 2 hours a day on the traditional business side.
Only 2 hours for a multi-billion-dollar empire.
That's the claim. Most of her time went to health, personal discovery, growth, focusing relentlessly on her highest value stuff, which allowed her to build this incredible empire from a place of, joy.
Okay, but the key insight there.
The key insight is huge, he says. Successful people aren't doing what they love because they're rich. They're rich because they've learned to do what they love and only what they love.
Oh, Flip that around.
Yeah. It completely challenges that idea that you have to grind for decades before you earn the right to enjoy your life. He's saying you have to start acting like Oprah now, choosing joy and purpose to get to that level.
Okay, that's a massive mindset shift. So how does the DRIP matrix help us do that?
It breaks down all your tasks into 4 quadrants, helps you see objectively where your time and energy are really going.
Got it. What are the quadrants?
Okay, first is the delegation quadrant. These are tasks you hate, and they're low value for your specific skills. He uses this example of Miguel, a client with a real estate software company. Miguel was drowning in customer support tickets, obsessed with answering every single one instantly. His whole business revolved around his availability.
Sounds exhausting. And probably beyond the best use of a CEO's time.
Exactly. Martell pushed him to hire someone empathetic, someone who actually liked support. Result: customer service ratings went up, and Miguel was free to work on strategy, product, the high-value stuff.
Okay, so delegation is stuff you hate and aren't uniquely good at. What's next?
Next is the replacement quadrant. This is tricky. It's tasks you might actually be pretty good at, but you don't love them, and they drain your energy.
Like the wedding photographer doing invoicing.
Perfect example. Or the brilliant financial analyst stuck booking their own travel. These tasks are valuable to the business, sure, but they aren't in that person's genius zone. They sap enthusiasm over time.
Got it. Good at it, but drains you.
Then,
Crucially,
the investment quadrant. These activities don't directly make money, but they feed your soul, your relationships, your creativity.
Like exercise, family time, hobbies.
Exactly. Hiking, time with friends, biking, yoga, building model airplanes, whatever it is for you. Martell stresses these are vital. They maintain your energy, prevent burnout. He even runs challenges in his Facebook group, like 100 push-ups for 100 days. It's about consistent deposits here, not optional luxuries.
Okay, so investing in yourself. And the last quadrant must be the goal.
The production quadrant, yes.
Right.
This is your sweet spot, your genius zone. Tasks you excel at, you love doing, and that generate the most value and income. This is where you want to spend as much time as possible, where you're in flow.
Okay, the 4 quadrants make sense, but how do you figure out your breakdown? How do you populate that matrix for yourself?
Right. Theory is one thing, practice is another. He provides the time and energy audit tool. First step, calculate your buyback rate.
Buyback rate, how does that work?
It's a rough estimate of your hourly value. Take your company's annual revenue or your income, divide by 2,000 hours, like a standard work year, then divide by 4. It gives you a dollar figure for your time.
Okay, so I have a number. Then what?
Then, for 2 straight weeks, you track your time in 15-minute blocks. Everything you do during the workday, meticulously.
Every 15 minutes. That sounds intense.
It is, but it's revealing. After 2 weeks, you review it all. You assign a dollar value, $1 to $4 signs, 4 being like 500+ hour work. And critically, you mark each task green for energy giving or red for energy draining.
The energy component again. Red and green.
Yeah, that visual is often the biggest wake-up call. This whole audit creates your prioritized hit list, all the draining low-value stuff, especially things in that delegation quadrant.
And this leads to that controversial idea he mentioned.
Exactly. The it's selfish not to delegate idea. He argues if your buyback rate is $100 hour and you spend 20 hours a week on, say, onboarding tasks that drain you, you're essentially robbing someone else of a job they might enjoy and be great at and could do for less than $100 hour.
That's a powerful reframe. It's not just about your time. It's about the economic opportunity for someone else, too.
Right. It forces you to confront the real cost, financial and energetic, of holding on to that low-value work.
To really nail this idea of staying in your production quadrant, he brings up Andy Warhol, which is fascinating.
Yeah, most people think artist, right? Eccentric genius. But Martell argues Warhol's real art was his business sense. His genius was leverage.
How so?
He built the factory. It wasn't just a studio. It was a highly organized machine to produce art at scale. He used assistants, invented processes like screen printing for mass production.
So he wasn't hand-painting every single piece?
No way. He stayed in his production quadrant, the concept, the vision, the business of art. He scaled his genius by delegating the execution. And the result, 85,000 pieces of art. His work apparently made up 15% of the entire global art trade in 2014.
Incredible. He built an art empire, not just art pieces. He avoided getting stuck in that replacement quadrant.
Exactly. Masterclass in scaling your genius.
Okay, so we understand the need to focus on high-value, energy-giving tasks. But sometimes it feels like something holds us back even when we know what to do, like self-sabotage.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what Chapter 3 tackles, the 5-time assassins. These are the hidden enemies within.
Time assassins. Sounds dramatic.
They can be. He links them to something he calls the chaos addiction. It's this paradox. People who face adversity early on often develop amazing MacGyvering skills, right? Problem solving, self-reliance, crucial for entrepreneurs.
Makes sense. You learn to figure things out.
But the flip side, you can get so used to chaos, to stress, that calm feels weird, uncomfortable. You might unconsciously recreate chaos because it feels familiar.
Like that client Taylor, the forestry guy.
Yeah.
Sabotaging his own vacations to be the firefighter.
Exactly like Taylor. Couldn't handle the peace. Needed the fire to feel indispensable. Maybe it reinforces that identity.
So what are these 5 specific assassins that stem from this?
Okay, number 1 is the staller. This is about fear of growth, maybe feeling unworthy, and it shows up as massive procrastination.
Like the client Sahid who just sat on that partnership email for weeks.
Yeah, a total win-win opportunity, and the staller just paralyzed him. Couldn't pull the trigger because the next level felt too big, too scary.
Ouch. Okay, assassin 2.
The speed demon. This is the opposite almost, making quick, haphazard decisions just to feel like you're doing something. Rushing to hire the first person, pick the first software.
Like Charles hiring his brother-in-law as CMO without really thinking it through.
Exactly. Convenience over competence.
Yep.
Driven by the need for speed, not the need for the right decision. The long-term cost is way higher than the short-term relief.
Okay, staller, speed demon. What's number 3?
The supervisor. This is the classic inability to delegate effectively.
Yeah.
Micromanaging, believing nobody can do it as well as I can.
The bottleneck founder.
Totally. They become the bottleneck. They stifle everyone else's initiative because the team knows the founder will just jump in anyway. It's a control thing, but it traps them.
Makes sense. Assassin 4.
The saver. This is the entrepreneur gripped by a scarcity mindset. Hoarding money, unwilling to invest in solutions that would save them time, prevent burnout, or unlock growth.
Like Kyle with the mastermind, risking a multi-million-dollar business rather than spending $10 on a curriculum.
Yeah, asking if there was a $20 book instead. Penny wise, pound foolish doesn't even cover it. It's self-destructive saving.
Crazy. Okay, and the last one, number 5.
The self-medicator. And this one's personal for Martell. It's turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Drinking, overeating, whatever, to deal with the stress and overwhelm.
He mentioned his own experience with Spheric, right?
Yeah.
Celebrating that Yale deal with heavy drinking.
Yeah, he admits he used it to cope with the pressure back then. So these 5, staller, speed demon, supervisor, saver, self-medicator, they aren't external forces. They're internal patterns we have to recognize and dismantle.
Recognizing them is huge.
Yeah.
But then how do you actually shift your role? How do you move from being the doer to the leader, the delegator?
Great question. That leads right into Chapter 4, the 3 trade levels. This framework explains the evolution from employee thinking to empire building.
Okay, 3 levels. What are they?
Level 1 is the level 1 trader, employee. He says even if you own the business, if you're mainly trading your time for money, doing all the core work, stuck in that get-done mode, you're essentially an employee of your own company.
Still limited by your own hours, your own capacity.
Exactly. Then comes the crucial shift to level 2 trader. Entrepreneur. This is where you actively start buying back your time, delegating tasks that aren't your genius work. You start using leverage. You feel that first taste of freedom.
Okay, employee to entrepreneur. What's level 3?
Level 3 is the ultimate goal. Level 3 trader, empire builder. Here, you're not just buying back your time. You're buying back other people's time by building robust systems, processes, structures. You're building a machine that runs without you being the main gear.
Becoming the architect, not just the operator.
Beautifully put, yes. That's where real scale and freedom happen.
He uses the story of Andre, the home builder, to illustrate this shift.
Yeah, Andre was stuck, overwhelmed, and this expert, Simon, gave him counterintuitive advice. Instead of hiring a pricey operations manager, Simon said, hire a less expensive CAD designer.
Wow.
Because the CAD work was taking up like 80% of Andre's time, and frankly, a dedicated CAD designer would probably enjoy it more and do a better job at it. It forced Andre to stop being the employee doing CAD and become the entrepreneur leveraging specialized talent.
Tactical hire to buy back his time for higher level thinking. Smart.
Very smart. It was about shifting his mindset from doing to leading.
That perfectly sets up Chapter 5, which sounds super practical, the replacement ladder. This seems like the step-by-step guide out of that replacement quadrant. We talked about doing valuable stuff you're good at, but that drains you.
Exactly. It's a systematic path. And the structure is consistent for each rung of the ladder. 3 things. the key hire you need, the feeling you're probably having at that stage, and the specific ownership that must be transferred.
Okay, lay out the rungs for us. Rung 1.
Rung 1, admin, key hire, administrative assistant. The feeling, usually stuck, buried in small tasks. Ownership to transfer, your entire inbox and calendar, non-negotiable first step.
Foundational. Okay, rung 2.
Rung 2, delivery, key hire, account manager or project manager. Feeling, overwhelmed because you're still doing the core client work. Ownership to transfer, production and delivery of your service product. Get out of the day-to-day execution.
Makes sense. Rung 3.
Rung 3, marketing, key hire, marketing manager. Feeling, often frustrated, stuck in that boom-bust cycle. Market hard, get busy, stop marketing, business slows down, repeat. Ownership to transfer, consistent lead generation, break the cycle.
Oh, you know that cycle well. Okay, rung 4.
Rung 4, sales, key hire, sales manager. Feeling, probably stagnant if you're still the one closing all the deals. Your growth is capped. Ownership to transfer, scalable revenue generation. Build a sales engine.
Getting higher level now. What's the top rung?
Rung 5, leadership, key hire, integrator or general manager. Someone to run the day-to-day. Feeling, maybe isolated if you're still holding on to too much. Ownership to transfer. Execution of the vision, driving the culture. This frees you for true empire building.
Wow, that's a clear progression. And the underlying rule for all of this.
The absolute key. Don't hire to grow your business. Hire to buy back your time. Every hire should free you up for higher value work. It's about optimizing your capacity first.
Which brings us right back to that first rung, that foundational hire, Chapter 6. Your administrative assistant, the essential first step. He calls this hire non-negotiable.
Absolutely. He argues it's the very first hire every entrepreneur should make, period. His logic. Every hour you spend on admin emails, scheduling, booking travel, paying bills is an hour stolen from your genius work, your family, your life. It's a massive opportunity cost.
But people push back, right? Like, I don't have enough for them to do.
Yeah, that's common. Martell says that just shows you don't realize how much low-value stuff you're actually doing. You're so used to it, you don't even see it until you audit. Running $1 million company, but still booking your own flights.
Or the other big one, I'll lose control.
That fear.
Huge fear. That's where he introduces his email GPS system. It's not really software, more a strict process. Your assistant becomes your email filter using rules you set. They triage, file, forward. The benefit, you can actually turn off your email notifications completely.
Turn off email. That sounds like heaven.
Right. Reclaim that focus. Stop the constant interruptions.
And the key to making this work, the non-negotiable part for the assistant.
They must manage all your calendar and all your inbox. Completely. He shares the story of his brother, Pierre, who didn't get the full benefit until he truly let go of controlling those two things. That's when the game changed.
Full delegation is required.
Yes. And he tells that amazing story about Jonathan, the guy who sold his company for 9 figures.
Oh, yeah, and insisted on keeping his assistant in the deal. Right, it shows their incredible value. They're not just support, they're associates and lifelines, as Keith Ferrazzi says. A great assistant lets you handle both the urgent and the important.
Okay, so you hire great people, you start delegating using the replacement ladder. But how do you make sure the work gets done consistently and well without you having to oversee everything?
Systems. That brings us to Chapter 7, Building Playbooks, the Blueprint for Scale. This is about operational excellence.
And he starts with McDonald's, the speedy service system.
Yeah, Ray Kroc seeing that meticulously choreographed kitchen, the insight. Unlimited predictability is more valuable than intermittent quality. Think Starbucks, Chipotle, you go because you know exactly what you'll get. Consistency allows scale.
Predictability over perfection sometimes.
Often for scale, yes. Martell had his own aha moment, driving hours back and forth from New Brunswick to Maine just to train staff on software over and over.
Doing the same training repeatedly.
Exactly. Then it hit him. I could just film this once. The camcorder method was born. Shift from individual effort to scalable systems.
So what makes a good playbook, according to him? He has the 4 C's, right?
Yep, the 4 C's. First,
Of course.
the high-level steps, the overview.
Okay.
Second, cadence. How often does this task happen? Daily, weekly, monthly, triggered. Knowing the rhythm.
Got it.
Third, checklist. The non-negotiable, granular steps for quality, like the checklist manifesto talks about, ensures nothing gets missed.
Crucial. And the 4th C?
Camcorder method, the secret sauce. You record yourself doing the task first, but then, and this is brilliant, the person you're delegating to watches your video and they create the written playbook.
Wait, the learner creates the playbook. Why?
2 huge reasons. One, It confirms understanding. If they can document it clearly, they truly get it. Teach, and you shall receive. Right.
Okay, makes sense. And the second reason?
It identifies missing steps. When you do it, you have unconscious competence. You skip over little things you just know. The trainee documenting it forces all those implicit steps out into the open. Nothing slips through the cracks.
That's really clever. Ensures total clarity. Okay, so playbooks handle the what and how of tasks. But what about managing your own time and energy flow?
Right, that's chapter 8, your perfect week, moving from reactive to proactive scheduling.
Reactive sounds like chaos. Constant scrambling, calendar chicken, meetings bleeding over.
Exactly. Always feeling behind. Proactive is designing your week intentionally, knowing when you'll do deep work, meetings, workouts, family time, aligning it with your energy. Like Martell, the entrepreneur CrossFit coach, balancing it all by controlling his week.
So what are the big benefits of designing a perfect week?
2 main ones. First, optimize this for energy. Schedule creative work when you're sharpest, admin when you're lower energy. Work with your flow, not against it.
Makes sense.
And second, eliminates bleed time. When your day is tightly scheduled, one meeting running over directly impacts the next thing. It forces discipline, protects your time blocks.
And he talks about task batching here too. Dale Beaumont's idea.
Yeah, grouping similar tasks, all emails at once, all calls together, minimizes that mental cost of switching gears all the time. Because multitasking, it just doesn't work.
So true. That context switching is exhausting.
Totally. And he has that great phrase, beware yes, respect no. Using the story of Rachel doing 75 hard, every time she said yes to a distraction, she was saying no to her core goal. The perfect week helps you protect those yeses that matter most.
It's really about energy management, not just time. Like Michael Hyatt batching meetings.
Exactly. As an introvert CEO, constant meetings drained him. Batching them saved his energy and gave him clear days for deep, creative work. Designing the week around energy, not just appointments.
Okay, powerful stuff on personal scheduling. Now, moving back to the team, Chapter 9. Time hacks, empowering your team to solve problems. He says the biggest sacrifice here is your ego.
Yeah, you got to let go of being the hero, the one with all the answers. Stop that upward delegation where your team brings you problems instead of solutions. Every time you solve their problem, you steal their learning opportunity and create dependence.
Right, so what are these hacks to stop doing that?
First, the $50 magic pill. Empower your team to spend a small amount, say $50, to fix problems without asking you. Fosters initiative, quick fixes.
Love that.
Yeah.
Simple, empowering. What else?
Sync meetings with repeat agenda. Standardized meetings, daily huddles, weekly checks with a set agenda. Predictable, productive, reduces random interruptions.
Consistency.
Third, the definition of done, DOD. Crystal clear criteria for when a task is truly finished. Covers the facts, what it looks like, feelings, how it impacts others, and functionality, what it enables. No ambiguity.
Facts, feelings, functionality, like that. And the last hack.
The 1.3.1 rule. When someone brings you a problem, they must bring 1 problem, 3 viable solutions, and 1 recommended solution. Forces them to think, research, own the solution. Like Brad using it to train his team.
1 problem, 3 solutions, 1 recommendation. That builds problem-solving muscle.
Exactly. It's all about crushing your ego and empowering them.
Okay, you're delegating, empowering. But you need the right people. Chapter 10. How to hire world-class talent.
Yeah.
And he learned this the hard way, right?
Yeah.
The T&G story.
Oh, yeah. Painful lesson. Landed a dream deal with Procter & Gamble. Hired this developer, Chase, too quickly, not enough oversight. Chase ends up being disruptive, embarrassing. Martell loses the deal, the IP, the client, and has to pay Chase. Huge cost of a bad hire.
Ouch. That hurts. And it taught him about the MacGyver hiring trap.
Yeah. Your strength as a problem solver can make you see solutions in people rather than seeing the people themselves. You need a salesperson, so you project salesperson onto a candidate who really wants to do marketing. You see what you need, not who they are.
Leads to misalignment. So how do you avoid that trap? His 3 filters.
Right. Filter 1, warm intros. Still the most effective way. He has that clever tactic. Get a warm intro to a top performer, then ask for 5 minutes just to pick their brain, not pitch your job directly. Subtle, effective. Filter 2, give them a chance to shine, or test first hiring. His golden rule. Don't work with someone until you've worked with them. Give final candidates a short paid test task related to the job.
And the non-fits just drop out.
Often, yeah. They self-select out, saves everyone time, shows who's serious.
Big sense. And filter 3.
Using personality profiles like Colbier, not for personality, but for conative strengths, how people naturally take action, helps build balanced teams. Like, if you have lots of quick starts, Hire a follow-through person. They're indicators, not determinants.
Understand their natural operating mode. And once you find someone great, you have to sell the future, like Gary Vee does.
Exactly. Gary Vaynerchuk listens like 90% of the time in interviews. He figures out what the candidate really wants: title, impact, money, skills, and then frames the opportunity around their desires. I just want to know what your agenda is so I can help us get there.
Meeting their needs, not just filling your slot. Powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've hired brilliantly. Now, how do you lead them? Chapter 11, transformational leadership.
Yes, moving beyond just managing tasks to actually building people. He starts with Ken Blanchard's concept. Other people's monkeys. Don't take their problems onto your back.
Like the story with Adam and the hiring decision. Martell pushed it back to him.
Exactly. He asked, "Do you need to vent or want me to solve it?" When Adam wanted a solution, Martell reminded him, "This is why I hired you." Transferring ownership back, empowering.
That's the core of transformational leadership versus transactional management, right?
Precisely. Transactional is do this task, get paid. Leads to micromanagement, disengagement. Transformational starts with it's their job, not yours. You coach them to find solutions. Builds capability, ownership, lasting change.
And he has that COACH framework for coaching conversations.
Yeah, practical tool for one-on-ones. Core issues. Focus on the underlying principle, not just the incident. Actual story. Use a specific real example. Change. Focus on the desired future behavior. Makes it concrete and forward-looking.
Core issue, actual story, change. Got it. And this links to the 3 pillars: outcome, measure, coach.
Yep. Like coaching a marathon runner. Define the outcome. Finish the marathon. Provide a single measure, miles per week. Then coach them, guide, support. Don't just give orders. That one number measure is key for self-correction.
Allows a team to know if they're winning without you constantly telling them.
Exactly. It's like John Wooden, the legendary UCLA coach. He coached, he didn't just manage. That's how you get peak performance.
Coaching is essential. And a huge part of coaching is feedback. Chapter 12.
Yeah.
Feedback, the engine of performance and meaning. And Martell gets really vulnerable here about his own mistakes.
He really does. Bottling up frustration with Jacob, then exploding on a call. Or letting Alexis, the new mom, underperform for months without saying anything because he felt awkward.
Avoidance is costly.
Hugely. Stalled productivity, damaged careers, eroded trust. The cost of not giving feedback was way higher than the discomfort of the conversation.
And he connects this to the bigger picture. Like the Great Resignation, people wanting meaning.
Yeah. Citing McKinsey, 70% of people find purpose in their work. Feedback isn't just about performance. It's about helping people grow, feel valued, find that meaning. It's critical for retention. Like Kim Scott's radical candor or Google encouraging dissent, better to hear it internally.
So how do you give feedback? Well, he offers the CLEAR framework, right? Using his mentor, Matt Mockery, as an example.
Exactly. CLEAR. Create a warm environment. Ask them for positive feedback first. Sets a safe tone.
Okay.
Lead with positive feedback. Share genuine positives before critique. Builds trust.
Yeah.
Emphasize empathy. Truly seek to understand their perspective. Help me understand.
Crucial.
Ask for specific feedback. This is key. After you give feedback, ask, what's one thing I could do better? Models the behavior, makes it two-way.
Love that. Turns it into a dialogue.
Reject or accept feedback. Listen respectfully to what they offer you. You don't have to act on all of it, but you must consider it. Like Mockery accepting Martell's feedback built huge trust. Makes feedback an ongoing engine, not a dreaded event.
Okay, systems are humming, team is coached, feedback is flowing. Where are we actually going with all this optimized capacity? Chapter 13. Your 10x vision, dreaming beyond the possible.
Exactly. Time to look way up. And he starts with Lane Merrifield and Club Penguin, driven by this pure passion for kids' online safety, sold to Disney, not the highest bidder, because Disney aligned with that vision.
Purpose over profit. Vision is the guide.
Right. Martell says you need a huge dream, insanely huge, but also crystal clear. That clarity pulls you forward. He brings up the difficulty principle. Hard goals motivate more, and Dan Sullivan's 10x is easier than 2x.
How is 10x easier?
Because thinking 10x forces you to zoom out. Daily problems seem smaller. Decisions get simpler. It's more motivating than just incremental improvement.
Okay, so what needs to be in this clear 10x vision? 4 elements.
4 key things for entrepreneurs. 1, your team. What does the future team look like? Size, roles, culture. 2, your one business. What's your core business achieving? Impact, metrics. 3, your empire. What else are you building? Other ventures, investments? 4, your lifestyle, your personal dream. Health, travel, family time, hobbies. Define your freedom.
It has to be specific, right? Like his own NYT front page from the future.
Exactly. Specific revenue, awards, pictures, make it tangible. Otherwise, as Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you are going, you'll end up someplace else. The vision is your compass.
Vision is the destination. How do you build the road to get there?
Chapter 14. The preloaded year, planning your path to inevitability. Back to practical planning. Starting with Covey's Big Rocks.
Classic, but so powerful. Put the big rocks, vacations, family time, key projects, health goals in the jar first. Then the pebbles, daily tasks fit around them. Start with pebbles, no room for the big rocks. Urgent crowds, out important.
So how do you preload your year? 3 steps. 3 steps. 1. Checkpoints. Define short-term goals based on your 10x vision. Stepping stones, like Randall wanting to connect with media moguls. 2. Tactics. Brainstorm 10-20 specific actions to hit those checkpoints. LinkedIn, conferences, calls. Get ideas down. 3. Score tactics with ICE. Prioritize those tactics.
Lots of E scoring.
Impact 110. Confidence it will work 110. Ease of implementation 110. Multiply IXEXE. Pick the top 2-3 highest scores. Those are your strategic big rocks for the year.
So you identify your strategic big rocks with ICE, then add your personal big rocks, vacations, anniversaries.
Exactly. And schedule them all on your calendar first. Lock them in. That's how Martell could take that last-minute Branson ski trip. His important stuff was already blocked out, creating space.
And even with rocks and pebbles, there's room for sand and liquid. The spontaneous fun stuff.
If you plan the big things first, yes. He uses his own 2007 Vision digital meeting rooms. Global team seemed crazy then, but became reality because he didn't ask, is this possible? He just planned towards the vision.
The more planned you are, the more spontaneous you can be. Counterintuitive again.
Totally. Think once, commit to the plan, then execute. Makes the crazy goals feel inevitable.
Which brings us beautifully to the end, tying it all together. The buyback life. A life you don't need a vacation from.
That's the ultimate goal. And he shares how his personal buyback journey started super small, delegating laundry and cleaning, realizing it was selfish not to pay someone, freeing up his own time and giving someone else work.
Taking it from transaction to ethics.
Yeah. And he gives that detailed example of his house manager, Betty. Protein shakes, floss picks everywhere, water by the bed, car-fueled. It's about creating protocols to save mental energy, like Steve Jobs' turtlenecks. Removing micro-decisions.
Operating his home like an efficient business to free his mind.
Exactly. And that capacity allows you to think bigger. He challenges the whole retirement idea. Why stop at 65? Why not have 65 more years to create? Like Colonel Sanders said, a person will rust out quicker than they'll wear out.
Keep creating. Keep building your empire. Expand your mind. Franchise the mechanic shop. Build the property portfolio.
The buyback principle creates the time and energy to even think that big, let alone do it.
But how do you stay balanced while doing all that?
Yeah.
The 7 pillars.
His personal checklist for the investment quadrant: health, relationships, spirituality, friends, love, family, hobbies. Score yourself weekly. Focus on the 2 lowest. Brainstorm small improvements. Plan a date night if love is low. Schedule a workout if health is down. Keeps life balanced during the climb.
A practical way to keep filling that investment bucket.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered a ton today, from the core buyback principle, the DREP matrix, the time assassins, the replacement ladder, playbooks, perfect weeks, hiring, leadership, feedback, all the way to 10x, vision and planning.
It's a comprehensive system for reclaiming your time and building something meaningful, both in business and life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into buy back your time, here's something for you to think about, a final provocative thought.
What single low-value, energy-draining task, just one, will you commit to identifying and transferring this week? What's the first step you can take to start your own buyback loop and begin freeing up that vital capacity for your 10x vision?
That first step can make all the difference.